The Final Four said, UCLA, you gotta love sports. In a heart-stopping, intense game that went down to the final possession, how about Mick Cronin's Bruins? UCLA, unbelievable, beating Michigan as the Bruins, as an 11 seed in the play-in game. They make it to the Final Four. What a run for UCLA, beating Tom Izzo, what they did to a team that had championship aspirations in Alabama, what they did to a team that had championship aspirations in Michigan. It's been a huge topic on the show in the first 30 minutes of the program. And we've heard from a ton of UCLA fans, ton of Michigan fans. End of the game, if you're a Michigan fan, we broke it down, was mind-numbing. All game, going even back to the first half, they missed easy shot. They missed layup after chippy, after easy bucket. They couldn't hit water if they fell out of a collective boat last night. And I love the Wolverines. Oh, that was brutal. Michigan fans are miserable, rightly so. Michigan missed its last 8 field goals. We went through the miserable night for Wagner. Hated the plays Juwan Howard drew up at the end. That's one that if you're a Michigan fan, so many self-induced mistakes and easy misses. I mean, it's just unacceptable. Just a bad job by Michigan down the stretch. A surprisingly terrible job. And this UCLA story is amazing. Gonzaga's winning a championship. They destroyed, absolutely destroyed a great, well-coached, defensive-minded USC team. Just ran them off the damn court. You know, maybe people stop fighting with me when I start talking about this Gonzaga team as a legendary all-time squad. We spent a lot of time in the first hour on Mac Jones's pro day, which, you know, as far as pro days go, I mean, Justin Fields' pro day was off the charts. I mean, that was, if you are an Ohio State fan, a Justin Fields fan, if you want Justin Fields on your team, if you root for the Niners or the Panthers or the Broncos, you root for the Jets are taking Zach Wilson. But if you want Justin Fields, if you're a Big Ten fan, that was your time to shine. That was your day yesterday. That was your day. I mean, I still don't think he's going to the top 3 teams in the draft. I think that, you know, and listen, nobody knows what San Francisco is going to do, but I think all the signs are there, as we documented last hour. All the signs are there for Mac Jones going number 3 to San Francisco. Look, there'll be trust for me in what Kyle does because Kyle is outstanding, but I think it's all set up, the comparisons with Matt Ryan and Mac Jones. He took Matt Ryan to an MVP level. We had Thomas Dimitroff on the Adam Schein podcast. Make sure you subscribe, download it, enjoy. He sees those comparisons, and he drafted Matt Ryan, so that opinion certainly goes noted without question. So a lot of conversation on Fields, a lot of conversation on Mac Jones, a lot of conversation on the Niners at 3, what Carolina's going to do, what Denver's going to do at the quarterback position. Kyle Pitts pro day today. I mean, the measurables already have people going gaga. If I'm the Falcons, I would never. I mean, if I stay at 4, trading down is one thing. But if I stay at 4, I would draft Kyle Pitts and get that card to the podium right now. Jamar Chase, likely going to be the first receiver off the board. Very realistic chance he gets reunited with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. So that will be interesting. The only other thing I could see Cincinnati doing is drafting an offensive lineman. I mean, they have to protect Joe Burrow at every single cost. We're going to get into some of our favorite baseball over-unders as the season starts tomorrow. We're going to get into some baseball award odds. We'll get into Francisco Lindor and his contract. Calls have been off the charts today, as per usual. Will in Colorado, our good friends. Next on Sports.
Hey, Schein. Thanks for having me on again.
What's up, Will?
Wanted to chat about the Mac Jones and the Justin Fields debate as far as what the Niners are going to do with the 3rd overall pick. I think the comparison between Jones and Ryan is a good one, but I'm not sold that Kyle Shanahan traded up, and gave what he did in exchange for the pick with the vision of getting a Matt Ryan. I think his sights are a bit higher, and I think his sights are, hey, let's get a Patrick Mahomes, let's get a Deshaun Watson, let's get a Russell Wilson, let's get a guy who's highly athletic, who's dynamic, who's fits the mold of where the NFL quarterback is going, and that guy is Justin Fields. I mean, the arm talent, the 4.4 40. I mean, the measurables jump off the charts, and the guy played big-time Power 5 college football.
Big-time football, and he was able to thrive playing big-time football.
Exactly.
Let me interject. Here's the thing with San Francisco, and this is how we framed it in the first hour and why we're going to spend so much time on it. And this is why, and I love Fields as a prospect, and I love Lance as a prospect. San Francisco makes that move to win a championship this year. And I know how that might sound in terms of being naive of winning a championship with a rookie quarterback. You know, Kyle looked at the landscape, and, you know, they're available guys, and, you know, Sam Darnold's available, and, you know, could have made an offer to Jameis Winston or, you know, taking a flyer on Mitch Trubisky. He looked at the landscape and said, I need a quarterback. And they need a quarterback to win now with this roster and sustain winning over the next few years. We'll look at the quarterbacks in that division, and we're going to assume for the sake of conversation that Russ is there, which might not be the case. But Matthew Stafford going to L.A.? I mean, to me, right, as someone who has said San Francisco could have the best team in the NFL 2 through 53, I mean, how could I, in good conscience, pick the Niners right now ahead of the Rams? I can't. Now, if Mac Jones comes in and he's plug and play and he's there for Kyle Shanahan, look, that's a game changer. Mac Jones steps in and he could win double-digit games and have the San Francisco 49ers in the postseason and doing some big things. Justin Fields has a lot of upside. Boy, I don't know if they can wait when it comes to maximizing that upside based upon the roster configuration right now. I hope that answer makes sense.
It makes sense. My only response would be, I don't think they have to wait with Fields. And, I mean, I think the plan is to keep Garoppolo for a year. That's my understanding. Have either rookie quarterback his wing and then bring in the quarterback to start the following year. I don't necessarily agree with that strategy. I think if the rookie quarterback's better, you should start initially. But I don't think you have to wait with Fields. The guy's played more college football than Mac Jones is as a starter. There's more evidence of him playing on the biggest stage, and I think, you know, he's shown that he's ready to take the role now. I don't think there is a need to wait.
Well, this is a great conversation. It's a great debate. And this is definitely the conversation they're having in San Francisco. But let's also put it in the past tense. It's a conversation they've had. You know, we don't know concretely. You don't know. The media doesn't know. But there are strong indications that Mac Jones will be the guy. You know, Chris Sims, Chris Mortensen, Mike Lombardi. When they say these things as basic fact with Mac Jones, I mean, those are cats I certainly pay attention to. Now, you're right. If they think Justin Fields can step in right away and lead them to the promised land and, you know, he understands that offense and he's ready to go, they'll take him. They'll take him. I mean, Justin Fields has a higher upside than Mac Jones. That, to me, is not even up for conversation or debate. Trey Lance could have a higher upside. But the thing with Mac Jones, and you look at Alabama, phenomenal coach, great coaching staff, legendary head coach, great coaching staff, gobs of NFL talent. You know, the ambiguity to me is gone. With all these quarterbacks, and Ryan Day said this about Justin Fields, it comes down to coaching. Well, if you go to San Francisco with an unbelievable offensive mind and the best left tackle in the NFL and great young dynamic receivers and one of the top 2 pass-catching tight ends in the league, then you're going to have the Alabama equivalent of surrounding talent at the NFL level. So that, to me, is the tiebreaker and the difference maker when I look at it from a Mac Jones San Francisco perspective. Now, you know, the Mac Jones evaluations before this trade were all over the board. Chris Sims had him as the third best quarterback and thought he was going to be phenomenal. Daniel Jeremiah, who I love and respect, he didn't at first have him as a top 32 player in this draft. So I do think circumstance is a big part of this, which is why I think the circumstance favors that pick with San Francisco third overall. Dwayne in North Carolina, our good friends. Next, Shot on Sports.
Adam, Schein, how you doing today?
Oh, Dwayne, I am off the charts. Amazing, my friend. How about you?
I just love this time of year. Tomorrow is opening day.
Oh, you
Major
just
League
gave me
Baseball.
the chills the way you phrased it. I am so fired up for baseball, wall to wall. Opening day to me is a national holiday. I am so geeked up and so fired up for baseball. And I got to tell you, I'm fired up for your Braves. I think your Atlanta Braves are going to be excellent and must-see TV all year long. I can't wait to watch your squad play.
Absolutely, and I called in to talk my Braves. Mike Soroka pitched 2 innings yesterday.
Yep.
Coming off of a torn Achilles not that long ago. and did first appearance in spring training, first time back on the mound in competitive game. He throws 2 innings to close the game, actually technically got the save. Gave up 1, but struck out 2 and was efficient. I think in the 25 pitches to get through 2 innings. And I, as a Braves fan, wasn't expecting to see Soroka till after the All-Star break. It's looking like he's going to start the year with Gwinnett at the training site and could be back in that Braves rotation by the end of April, which is huge for Atlanta, especially in that competitive NL East with the Nats and the Mets and the Phillies, and everyone forgets that the Marlins were a playoff team last year.
Dwayne, I got to tell you, the division's my only pause. Because on paper right now, going into the season, I look at the Atlanta Braves as the third best team in the National League. I think the Dodgers are going to be one of the all-time great teams in the regular season.
Oh, absolutely.
The Dodgers are loaded. The Padres, to me, are loaded. I think they're the top 2. I think Atlanta is clearly number 3. To me, the problem with the Braves, you could make the case the Mets are 4. I think you nailed it. I think that Washington is flying under the radar. Last year was a mess. They won the World Series in 2019. Anything that could go wrong went wrong, starting with the pandemic and who was opting in, who was opting out, who was healthy.
Strasburg got hurt.
Strasburg, Soto with the positive test and whether or not it was even positive for game 1. That's one of those just forget the season even happened. That rotation is still great. I'll take you a step further. I think the Phillies are going to be a good team. One of my favorite over-unders for this baseball season, Phillies over 80.5. I'm not screaming playoffs, but I think the Phillies are going to be really good. And you nailed it with the Marlins. And with their young talent, look, I'm not picking playoffs, even though their Vegas over-under in the low 70s I thought was ridiculously low. Dwayne, they can match up with any team in baseball in a certain series with their pitching. So that's my only hesitation when it comes to your Atlanta Braves.
The NL East, and I've said it, will beat up on each other, and that's what scares me is the division. I think the NL East, the team that wins that division is going to have a lower number of wins than expected, whether it's my Braves, whether it's the Mets, the Nationals, whoever it is, because I think all of those teams are just going to continue to beat up on each other, which is why I made this call today. If Soroka can be back in that Braves rotation by the end of April, as opposed to having to wait till after the All-Star break, that's a huge shot in the arm, especially when they signed Charlie Morton. Ian Anderson's going to pitch the whole year. Max Fried looks like an ace. We'll see what we get out of Smiley. I'm excited, but this conversation with you is one we've had multiple times. Tomorrow's opening day, and there's not a lot of people talking about it because Major League Baseball doesn't know how to market itself. But I'm a baseball purist, and I love it. and I'll continue listening off there. Thanks for the time, man.
Dwayne, great stuff. And we are so fired up for baseball. And we teased at the start of the show talking about the award odds, and we will do that for Cy Young and MVP later in the show. You know, yesterday on the podcast, we started talking about some of these over-unders that we liked a lot. My favorite over-under, best bet for the over-under for the baseball season, the Boston Red Sox under 80.5. I think the Red Sox are going to be dreadful this year. I think the Dodgers are going to be an all-time great team. I don't even bat an eye going over for the Dodgers at 102.5. I don't bat an eye going over for the Padres at 94.5. I think the Blue Jays are going to be remarkable. Oh, absolutely going to be remarkable on offense. I love the Blue Jays over at 86.5. I love the Phillies over. I referenced that, 80.5. And I'll give you another one that I like. Those are my top five. The other two that I like, the Mets over 90.5. I do think the Mets are going to be a really good baseball team this year. And the Brewers. The Milwaukee Brewers, it's a low number, 82.5. I think they're at least going to be 2-3 games over 500. You know, I think they're a second-place team behind the Cardinals in the Central, so I would definitely bang the over there for the Milwaukee Brewers. Pete in New York, our good friends. Next, on Sports.
Adam, it's a privilege to talk to you. I'm a school teacher, so I don't get the chance to call in. This is my first time calling in. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, I love that, Pete. Appreciate the nice words. Hope you're enjoying your spring break.
I am, but I'm a Braves fan, just like your last caller. And when the Mets made that move for Frankie Lindor, I was concerned. But how, as the Mets, do you not make that trade and make a deal during spring training? I know opening day is tomorrow, but are the Mets doing Mets things, debacling this Frankie Lindor extension?
No, I don't blame the Mets at all. I think the offer that they gave Frankie Lindor is off the charts. And if I'm Francisco Lindor, I would be very careful here. Seriously, very careful. When you get offered that kind of cash, and, you know, I think Lindor is a star. I think Francisco Lindor is a top 5 to 10 baseball player, but there are people who would disagree with me on that. And he also needs to understand that there are going to be a lot of available shortstops coming up on the open market. If you get offered 10 for $325, I'd sign the contract. And I'll take you a step further. I'd sign the contract before I got hurt. I'd sign the contract before opening day because, you know, part of the beauty of Lindor, he's a superstar player, great offensive player, great defensive player. He's also a great clubhouse guy, has a great personality. You know, Bobby Bonilla once had a great personality, and then, you know, the New York just destroyed him, and it turned out he was thin-skinned. I don't think that'll happen to Lindor, but Mets fans are going to be all over him and booing him nonstop if he doesn't sign the contract and then goes into a prolonged funk. If he starts the season, you know, 1 for his first 17, that's going to be a problem. That doesn't benefit Francisco Lindor. So, you know, Steve Cohen, the new Mets owner, took to Twitter and said, I hope Frankie signs the deal. Lindor wants 12 for $385. I think this is a no-brainer for Lindor. And, you know, I want players to get as much as possible. But in terms of the nitty-gritty on these negotiations, count me on Team Mets here. I think the Mets offered him a phenomenal contract.
Oh, I agree. They offered him, but if you give up what they gave up for Lindor, don't you think you got to cater to him a little bit?
You see, I do, Pete. I guess our disagreement, the two of us, it's in the semantics. See, to me, and I'm saying this with a smile, yeah, 10 for $325, that's giving him what he wants. Look, if he was in Cleveland, he's not getting 10 for $325. I'll take you a step further. If he's on the open market, is he getting 10 for $325? I don't know the answer to that.
I think so, Adam. I mean, look at the Tatis deal. I think that that makes a deal. I mean, I love that the Mets are debacling this because the Mets are doing Mets things, Adam. It's great to finally get to talk to you, though, about this.
Pete, I love this, and I appreciate the call. And I could hear it. He's a Braves fan. I mean, his disdain for the Mets is just great. I don't think this is a classic. Here we go again, Mets. We vehemently disagree on that. I think the Mets have done everything right here with the Lindor trade, the Lindor contract, the timing of it. I think this is on Francisco Lindor, and frankly, he has to do a better job of seeing the forest through the trees. We're going to take more of your outstanding telephone calls. Plus, remember what Adam Morrison, Gonzaga legend, had to say about this Gonzaga team when he joined us before the tournament on Schein on Sports? It's worth remembering what he said about Gonzaga feeling pressure. We'll get into it right after this.